Hello everyone, this is Rajkumar, Divisional Forest Officer, Kohima. Hope you all doing well. As you all are aware, today is the World Environment Day. Generally, we mark this occasion through competition, events and programs in your schools. But unfortunately, due to COVID-19 pandemic, most of the schools are closed. So what? We have this efficient online platform to reach out to each and every one of you. This World Environment Day's theme is biodiversity. So let's start it with a small activity. So this is a game called Jenga. So let's consider this as a representation of biodiversity. So this has human beings on top. You have marine life, civet cat, our own Amur falcon, green pigeon, hornbill, kites, wild boar, and medicinal plants. So it includes almost everything. So just consider this as a representation of our biodiversity. So this is how our entire biodiversity is interlinked, and this is how it is staked. So I'm not going to disturb human beings because we are the one who disturbs rest of the things. So consider human beings, we do hunting, human beings do rampant deforestation, we use a lot of plastics and disturb our environment. So because of this, many of these stakes, many of the small elements in the biodiversity gets disturbed. So let me now try to disturb few of these things. Let's see what happens. So now I'm trying to disturb sparrows. So you can consider sparrow is now getting extinct from our biodiversity. Okay, the entire system is getting shocked now. I'm not able to remove, but still I'm trying to remove sparrows from our biodiversity. Okay, sparrow is extinct now. So next I'm trying to remove even Amur falcons from the biodiversity. Okay, there is a huge shock now. As you can see, human beings are on the top of the ladder and even we are getting impacted. Okay, I'm trying to remove some trees also. Okay, and let's remove some python also now. Okay, still biodiversity is intact, but there is a huge shock and there is a huge change. You can see how the system is now. And let me try to remove some civet cat. Okay, so as you can see, this is how the entire system collapses when the more and more species gets extinct from our biodiversity. So I hope this is quite clear, and most of you would have learned our biodiversity is quite interlinked and our ecosystem and everything is like a web. So if anything goes extinct, so it impacts everything, and moreover human beings who were on the top of the ladder, they also face the downfall. So with this, you young minds, I hope you young minds will be our ambassadors to spread the message to all our elders and our family members and all your villagers that we should not hunt, we should not go for rampant deforestation, and instead we should plant more trees and conserve and preserve our environment. I hope all of you will spread this message to your near and dear ones. Stay safe and study well, and happy World Environment Day to wishes to all of you. Thank you.
Hello students, welcome once again to the English class for class 6, and in the previous class we were studying about how the dog found himself a new master, isn't it? It is in the 2nd chapter of your textbook. So even today, let us continue with the same lesson. So till the previous class we understood that the dog first met the wolf, isn't it? So he met the wolf, and then as they were, starting this relationship as a master and a servant, one day the wolf found a bear, and then he was afraid of the bear, isn't it? And he backed off. That is why the dog decided to shift its master from the wolf to the bear again, right? So if you look into the 5th part of the textbook, seeing that the bear was stronger than the wolf, the dog decided to take up service with him, and he left the wolf and asked the bear to be his master. The bear agreed to this readily and said, "Let us go and find a herd of cows. I'll kill a cow and then we can both eat our fill." So here in the fifth part of the lesson, the dog finally meets the bear, isn't it? So now that the dog understood that the wolf was afraid of the bear, so it decided that its new master will be the bear, right? And then the bear also agreed to eat. And then now the bear, the new master of the dog, told the dog that, why don't we go and hunt a herd of cows? So here, a herd of cows would mean a group of cows. Okay, so a herd of cows, this is a collective noun. So when I say collective noun, you must have already studied about nouns in your first chapter of your English 2, isn't it? Your grammar portion. So see, whatever that you're studying in the grammar portion, it is helpful for your other subjects also, right? So a herd of cows is a collective noun, okay? And then it means a group of cows. So now the new master, that is the bear, was suggesting the dog that we will go and hunt some cows so that they can kill the cow and eat it because they were hungry, and the flesh of the cow will fill their stomach, isn't it? So that is why they went in search of the herd of cows. The sixth part, they walked on and soon saw a herd of cows. But just as they were about to come up to eat, they were stopped by a terrible noise. The cows were moving loudly and running in a panic in all directions. So, students, if you look in the sixth part of the lesson, now the dog and the bear, they have decided to go in search of the herd of cows. And then they found the herd of cows, okay. And as they were starting to hunt the cows, suddenly they heard a very large noise. And then they could see that the cows were moving very loudly. So when I say moving, it's the sound that the cows make, isn't it? So the cows were afraid, and then they were moving very loudly, and then they were running around in panic. Here, the meaning of the word panic would mean afraid and frightened. So they were panicking and running about in all the directions. So now the dog and the bear, they were very confused because they couldn't understand why the cows were running in all the directions, okay? The seventh part, the bear looked out from behind a tree, and then he too ran hastily deeper into the forest. "Now, why did I have to come here?" said he to the dog. "It is the lion who rules the forest in this part." "The lion? Who is he? Don't you know he is the strongest beast on earth?" "Well then, I'll say goodbye to you, bear. I want a master who is stronger than anyone on earth." So students, if you look into the seventh part of your text, we now understand why the cows were running in different directions. And the bear also understood the situation. If you look into the textbook, page number 19, then you can see a picture. The bear is hiding, and then the dog is looking confused. You can see a group of cows running here and there, right? So if you look into the picture, you can get an idea, isn't it? So the bear understood that a lion was coming. That's why the cows were also afraid, the bear was also scared, and now the bear told the dog that, in this part of the jungle, the lion is the strongest animal, and then he rules the forest. We all know that the lion is the king of the jungle, isn't it? So, since the lion is a very strong animal, I cannot compete with him. That is why I'm running away. So, what about you? What will you do? Now the bear is asking. And then the dog decides that, if you're afraid of the lion, then I'm very sorry, because my master has to be a very strong animal. That's why I have to say goodbye to you. And then now I will go in search of my new master. And that is how the bear and the dog, they parted ways. Okay. Now let's come to the 8th part of the text. And off the dog went to ask the lion to be his master. So here in the 8th part, finally the dog meets the lion, okay? And then he asks permission from the lion whether he can be the master of the dog. The lion agreed to eat, and the dog stayed with him and served him for a long, long time. It was a good life, and he had nothing to complain of, for there was no stronger beast in the forest than the lion, and no one dared touch the dog or offend him in any way. So now in the 8th part, we understand that now the lion has agreed to become the master of the dog, and then they have started this relationship as the master and the servant, okay? And in the story, it is also said that the dog was there with the lion for a very long, long time. So now, what must have, compelled the dog to stay with the lion for a long time? Because remember, for the other animals, the previous master, he stayed with them for a very short while, isn't it? But here, in the case of the lion, he stayed with him for a long time because the lion is a very strong animal, isn't it? It is very ferocious and scary in nature. So all the animals are afraid of the lion, and also it is the king of the jungle. So when the dog was there with the lion, no one, disturbed the dog or bothered to, challenge him also. That is why the dog led a very comfortable life, and that is why the dog stayed with the lion for a very long time. Okay. The 9th part of the text. But one day, the two of them were walking side by side along a path amid the bare cliffs. So here, the meaning of the cliffs is a steep, high rock. So usually cliffs are nearby the sea, and then they are very large rocks, okay? When all of a sudden the lion stopped, he gave a great roar and struck the ground angrily with his paw with such force that a hole formed there. Then he began to back away very quietly. So now, as the dog stayed with the lion, one day they were walking along a small passage nearby a cliff. So I told you that cliffs are very large rocks, and then they are nearby the sea, isn't it? So as they were walking, suddenly the lion became very angry and it was roaring, okay? And then we all know that the paw of the lion, the feet of the lion, it is very large, isn't it? So he, put the his paw on the ground with so much force that a hole began to be dug out on the ground. Such was the strong power of the lion. And then it was roaring. So again, the dog was confused. Why the lion was becoming angry. What is it, master? Is anything wrong? Asked the dog, surprised. I smell a man coming this way. The lion said, we'd better run for it or we will be in trouble. So now the dog is inquiring the lion, why are you angry and making such a loud noise? And the lion is replying the dog, I can smell a man coming. So from here, we can understand that the lions, they have a very strong sense of smell, right? So the man was far behind, but the lion could smell the man coming. And then it was afraid because man, if he sees the lion, then definitely it will kill him, right? So that is why the lion was suggesting that I think it will be good for us if we can run off, because if the man sees us, then both of our lives will not be spared, okay? Oh, well then, I'll say goodbye to you, lion. I want a master who is stronger than anyone on earth. So now, when the lion suggested the dog that we should run away, then the dog said that, I think we have stayed for a very long time together, and I think it is time for me to say goodbye to you. Why? Because my master has to be somebody very strong and not afraid of anything. And if you're afraid of the man that is coming our way, then I think it'll be good for me to say goodbye to you. So that is how the lion and the dog also parted ways, okay? Now if you look at the 10th point, the last part of the text, and off the dog went to join the man, and he stayed with him and served him faithfully. This happened long, long ago, but to this day, the dog is man's most loyal servant and knows no other master. So from the 10th point of the text, we understand that when the lion was afraid of the man, then and there, the dog decided that man should be its master, okay? And right from the day that it decided that it will become the servant of man, from that day onwards till the present times also, dog is the most faithful servant of man. And this story happened a very long time ago, okay? But even to this day, like I said earlier, dog is a very faithful animal of man, isn't it? And what do you understand from this last part? We know that, dogs are pet animals that we keep at home, right? And then dogs come in different sizes and shapes and colors, right? Some dogs are very small, some are big, and then some are a little medium size, and we have different colors of dogs. But one thing common in all the dogs is that they are very faithful, isn't it? They know their master, and then they guard the house, isn't it? And then they are very good to keep as pet animals, right? So I think it was a very good decision of the dog to stay with man, isn't it? So that is the end of the story. But if you look at page number 21, there are some questions that are given in the text, okay? They are asking some questions to you, and if you have understood the story, students, if you have understood, then it will be very easy for you to answer these questions. So see, if you look at the first question, why did the dog feel the need for a master? So why was, dog feeling that he should find out a master? So if you look into the first part of the lesson, then we know that previously dogs, they were living as wild animals, isn't it? But it was so fed up looking for food and shelter that it decided that it should find a master so that it can serve the master and be safe with the master, right? So that is why the dog decided that it should find a master. If you look into the second question, who did he choose as his master? Why did he leave that master? So which was the animal that the dog first chose, and why did he leave that animal? So if you look here, it was the wolf that the dog first chose, isn't it? And we understood that the dog and the wolf, they stayed together for some time, but later the dog found out that the wolf was afraid of another bigger animal. That is why he left the wolf, isn't it? The third question, who did he choose next? So when the dog found out that the wolf was afraid of the bear, then after that the bear was scared of the lion again, isn't it? So that is why at the end, before he meets the man, it was the lion. So the dog chose the lion as the next animal. And then, why did he serve the lion for a very long time? So, why did he stayed with the lion for a long time was because the lion was a strong animal, right? And then when he was there with the lion, no one disturbed him, right? So that is why they stayed together for a very long time. And then, who did he finally choose as its master and why? So at the end of the lesson, we understand that it was the man that the dog decided to choose at the end, right? And even to this day also, dogs and men, we have a very good relation, isn't it? So that is about some of the questions. And then if you try to look at the whole lesson, then there are some important things that you learn from the lesson. So the 5 main characters, the dog, the wolf, the bear, the lion, and then finally the man. But we must also understand that the dog is the main character in the story, okay? Because it talks about the dog's journey and meeting different animals, isn't it? So the dog is the main part. And then some of the things that we can understand or learn from the dog are, the dog is the main character that we have already discussed, and then it is the dog is smart, intelligent, and very cunning also. That's what we can understand, because see, every time he realized that the master was not very strong or afraid of another animal, then he immediately shifted to the next animal, right? So we can understand that the dog is very smart, intelligent, and cunning also. And then the dog was wise in choosing the master. So at the end, the dog landed up with man, isn't it? And even to this day, man and dog, we have a very good relation. So we can know that it was very wise of the dog to choose man as its master. And then share exchange folktale stories. So here from the lesson we understood that the dog story, this one is a folktale, isn't it? So if you know some folktales which your elders must have told you, then you can exchange it with one another. And while telling the story, you can use English as the language so that you can improve your English usage of the language also, right? So you can do that as an activity among your friends. And then we must also love and take care of our pet animal, that is the dog. So from the story, we also understand that dogs are very faithful animals. So we must learn how to take care of our animals. Okay, so that is the end of the lesson. And in the next class, we will try to look into a new chapter. Thank you so much.